Congratulations.
None other than Mr. Billy Strayhorn's Take the A Train approach, which was Duke's signature calling card song. And man, it's great to be here. We're going to part company for just a wee bit. First of all, before I even do this next tune, how many of you all have your saxophones with you? Okay, one. I saw you coming, George. I know you did. Get your pieces and stuff out.
Yep.
Oh yes, it's about to happen. We're going to continue with a. Let's see, what are we going to continue with here? Let's deal with that body and soul. Okay. thank you all very, very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. The saxophone. I mean, this, wow. I don't know. I guess I can talk right now. I can get hooked on phonics here for a minute. For those of you all that don't know my whole background, I'll give you a brief description as to what brought me here to this particular point. Born January 3rd, 1969, so I'm 46 as of this year. Youngest of 5 in my family. I have 2 brothers and 2 sisters, and all of them are musically inclined. So I grew up in this household where everything from Beatles to Parliament Funkadelic and ad infinitum was just running through the house. And of course, jazz was all, you know, jazz and blues was the undertow of the house as well too. Particularly the Parliament Funkadelic P-Funk side of things was definitely present through the house. And my brother, Kevin Carter, my older brother, wound up playing with Parliament Funkadelic during the Mothership Connection phase back in 76, 77. And, wow. So it wouldn't be, you know, a bad occurrence to Clinton or anybody to come through the household, you know, that was in the band. I was like, wow, you know. And I had an abnormal life of going to nursery school, singing Chocolate City, you know, I'm like 4 or 5 years old singing Gaming on You, you know, and going to school all the, you know. So it was a very hip life, you know. What basically brought me to jazz, if you will, was the fact that I owed it all to my mother pretty much, because my mother would basically be yelling at, you know, the rest of my siblings and stuff, "Don't do this, don't do that," you know, so. But the only time I would see Mom cool was when she was doing her chores and the jazz was on. I'm singing, Billy, you know, whoever was on. And sometimes we'd have the radio on, and it was like she'd sing. All of a sudden she'd start singing and there would be no song there. I'm like, what the heck's going on? And about 8 bars later, apparently she knew the tune. Billy or Carmen or Sarah or Ella, whoever was the vocalist at that particular time, would come in with what she just sang. So I was thinking like, wow, I did not do it. She's like psychic, like she knows what's about to happen next. But that was the most that I would see her just, you know, relaxed and in her element, you know, when she was listening to jazz and all singing, yeah, that's fine, you know. And I wanted to be a part of that because I felt that would get me on Mom's good side and stuff. So that was the whole, thing that, you know, got me into listening to jazz. And I think I came in it from a very organic way. Organic meaning that it's not something that somebody came by the house and just said, here, you got a saxophone, you're going to go up there and play. No, it was done, I think, quite naturally, where because of this process that I just mentioned, I heard the saxophone, because out of most of those situations, 7 out of 10 of those situations, right after the vocalist would sing, there was always this instrument that was right behind, and it was the saxophone. So I heard it first, and I was like, wow, I was just enraptured by the sound of it. And then when I asked what was that, and it said saxophone, and then they showed me the pictures of what a saxophone looked like. And of course, we're talking about the albums and stuff, you know, the vinyl that, you know, actually had the one-on-one where you could actually see the individual, as opposed to the CDs and the little things that covered up by shrink wrap. You could actually see the guy, like, doing that cool pose, like, and I was like, wow. So I heard it, and then I saw what the saxophone looked like. I mean, just check it. I mean, with the whole opulence, with the color, the shape, and this, that, and the other, and the cat just, and sometimes he had that cigarette burning in between, you know. Man, that's cool. I want to be like that. And then the sound, it just seemed like it was a whole synergy, and I was like, wow, it's just the essence of hip to me, you know. So that further, you know, pounded it in before I even got my first horn. That, God, I want to do that. I want to, you know. So, as fate would have it, the next thing that happened, I would see them on TV, by way of this 1950s variety show that used to come on called Sha Na Na, where they would play like all the 50s greasers, the ball, ding, 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 and they would have this large guy named Lenny that played all the saxophones, so he'd play all the solos. You know, I was like, wow. And he had this, you know, his big head, and he had the shirt that had the saxophone emblem on it, so he was like, yeah, there goes Lenny, you know, so that kind of like, wow, did it even further. Now, to nail the coffin in, my oldest brother had a 1970s Earth, Wind & Fire group, inspired group by the name of Nature's Divine. And, of course, they had a horn section, and as fate would have it, the saxophonist came to live with us. And with him, he brought in tow his soprano, alto, and tenor, all cylinder saxophones. The alto in particular was factory gold-plated. And he had his flute, clarinet, and bass clarinet. So here I am, 9, 10 years old, like, you know, and I would, you know, wait and see whether or not they're about to leave so I could go up and sneak in this, you know, room and open the case up and bring it out, you know, and I could get it out, and that alto in particular would just, yeah, you know, everything but the mouthpiece, obviously, because I didn't want to bust myself and, you know. So, and then he moved in my old room, so on the back of my old room I had this long mirror, so I could actually see myself like, you know, so I was doing the album cover thing, everything short of having a cigarette, of course, but, you know, digging it and this, that, and other, you know. So, James, where are you? Where are you? So I take it apart and put it back on. You know. So a couple more of these romances happened, and finally one day I got up there and just got totally oblivious to anybody around me. I was just in my own like, yeah. So his name is Charles Green. He came and said, James, what are you doing in my home? I was like, and he looked at me and saw that I had a cymbal, minus the mouthpiece, of course, and he saw where my fingers were, and he was like, put my horn back, and he watched me put his horn back. I mean, this factory gold-plated 6, so I proceeded to take the neck off, put it in its separate thing, put the end plug back on, and put it down there, put it in its compartment, and closed the hinges. And he went downstairs and told my folks, I think your son wants to play saxophone. But I wasn't out of the woods yet, just with that one endorsement. I had to go in the old classified ads in the old newspaper and find a saxophone under $200. You know, and we're talking pre-eBay, pre-Craigslist, pre-internet and all that. I mean, you have to, you know, look for it. So I found an ad that said alto saxes, $125 and up, and trumpets and some other stuff that was actually being sold by a retired band teacher in Oak Park, Michigan, by the name of Dr. Goodman. So we called him up and arranged a time to come over, and Charles came with me, and he picked out this King H.N. White alto saxophone, silver with the clapper bell, you know, the low B and the B flat on this side, you know, one of them. And I learned the C scale and stuff right there, and we brought it home for about $25, and that became my first sax, which I still own today.
Wow.
It's over at my mom's place and all, and some number of horns later. I still go back to it every now and then and pull it out, just, you know, gets me back in touch with how I used to be and stuff. I look at all this as a blessing. I come from a musical background, and I think it's a definite blessing. It's not an elective for me, and I say that wholeheartedly because of the things that have been put in my path. You know, how this even came about just by me mentioning, you know, all of these things that happen in these different phases. They don't happen to everybody. And if they do, not everybody is receptive as to know that these are blessings and that you're able to, you know, make the best of them and make the most of them. So I look at this as a gift from God. These are all gifts from God. We're all here. Anybody that's musically inclined or artistically inclined, you have a God-given gift. And that being said, you have to look at it with those convictions and play with those convictions. It's one thing to play, you know, what's on the paper and to or I had to take music as an elective so that I could get my points and my credits so I could graduate and all, but that could be the catalyst to everything else that happens later on in life. And I can definitely say that I'm living proof of that. It's because of these axes here that I've been married now going on 19 years, have 2 kids, and it was because of the saxophone that I met my wife. If I didn't play, that meeting probably wouldn't have happened. Our 2 kids wouldn't be here, harmonious and all. You know, sometimes we have, you know, but all of that's courtesy of the saxophone for me. And
What brand do you use, man?
it's all P. Mori out here.
Oh, these are the...
It's all about the P's, baby.
Oh, yeah.
And this one in particular, this was the very first RUL that came out. This was the very first prototype that they had. I got it back in 2008 at the NAMM show. I was added on as a last-minute cat to come over there and, you know, deal with the stands at the booth and all that stuff. And they didn't have enough money to, you know, pay the rest of the way at that particular time. So I said, man, I'm digging this horn here, man, you know. So I was like, okay, you know, give it up and all. And for the 4 days that I was there, I was taking this horn around everywhere. It wasn't just at the P. Moriarty booth. I was going over to the other booths and playing and singing at local. Yo, this horn is up here. This is Selma booth. I didn't care. I was like, look, this is what's happening here. You hear this? Boom, you know. And you know, and as a result, I was able to sell three of these. I sold 2 influences, I think that is. Yeah, that's an influence. And a couple of Sopranos and all. So it wasn't just about me being an endorser. I've also helped in dealing with certain improvements on these horns. You know, I work with them in email, hand, foot, back and forth on them. I've been helping with the development of the berries, the whole line actually. And I have a pending model that's coming out that'll be called Model Carterian. And it's basically off of the once referred to the SLG line, which was solid silver tube with 18 karat gold on top of it. And the horns are, I mean, huge in sound. I was at the NAMM show last year with it, and I got kicked out of various places because it sounded that loud. In fact, I wasn't able to come back to the NAMM show this year because of it. So that in and of itself attests to how big and how large the sound and how great the axe is. And these Moriartys are only going to become greater as the time progresses and as we continue, as Alex always says, to join hands and you know, collaborate and say, you know, what needs to